When the sirens stop, when the broadcasts go silent, when the last government convoy disappears over the horizon, there's a moment of terrible clarity. The masses will flood highways, strip supermarkets bare, and turn neighborhoods into war zones. But while everyone else is running blind, there are 3 locations that transform from ordinary structures into impenetrable fortresses. These aren't bunkers or military installations. They're hiding in plain sight, and if you know what you're looking for, they offer something far more valuable than concrete walls. They offer total strategic dominance when civilization collapses. The first location is the water treatment facility on the edge of your city. Not the main plant, that's obvious. That's where desperate crowds will converge within 48 hours. I'm talking about the secondary pump stations, the unmapped relay buildings that push clean water through neighborhoods. These structures are built like vaults because they have to be. The engineering requires it. Reinforced concrete walls, 18 inches thick, designed to withstand both internal pressure and external assault. Steel doors with industrial locks. Minimal windows, often just ventilation slits near the roofline. But here's what makes them fortresses. They're designed to operate in isolation. Every pump station has backup generators, fuel reserves, and most critically, direct access to the water grid before it reaches civilian taps. You're not just finding shelter, you're securing the single most valuable resource in a collapsed society. Water is life, and controlling even a secondary node in the distribution system means you control life itself. The physics of defending these structures is brilliant in its simplicity. One entrance, elevated and narrow. Attackers have to funnel through a kill zone with no cover. The buildings are typically surrounded by chain link and razor wire meant to keep vandals out during normal times, but in a crisis, it's a perimeter that forces anyone approaching to announce themselves. Inside, the machinery creates a maze of steel pipes, concrete pillars, and elevated walkways. You can see anyone entering long before they see you. The ambient noise of pumps masks your movements, and because these facilities are designed for minimal staffing, they have small footprints with maximum structural integrity. You're not trying to defend a sprawling compound, you're holding a bunker that was engineered to withstand utility system failures, which means it was built to survive chaos. The second fortress location breaks every prepper stereotype you've ever heard. It's the industrial cold storage warehouse in the commercial district. Not the grocery store freezers, those are targets. I mean the massive refrigeration facilities that store food before distribution, the ones with loading docks and semi-truck bays. These buildings are thermal fortresses. The walls aren't just concrete, they're insulated with polyurethane foam, 6 to 8 inches thick, sandwiched between steel panels. That insulation doesn't just keep food cold, it deadens sound, regulates temperature without power, and makes the structure incredibly difficult to breach. You can't smash through these walls with a crowbar or even a sledgehammer. They're designed to maintain internal environments against the physics of heat transfer, which means they're sealed against the outside world in ways normal buildings simply aren't. But the real genius is the food itself. Even after power fails, industrial freezers maintain cold temperatures for 72 hours or more due to thermal mass. That's 3 days where the thousands of pounds of frozen goods inside act as a massive ice block, preserving themselves. After that, you're looking at canned goods, dried products, and vacuum-sealed items stored in the adjoining dry storage sections. We're talking pallets of supplies, untouched by the panicked masses who flooded grocery stores first. And here's the tactical advantage nobody thinks about. These warehouses are in commercial zones, not residential areas. When society collapses, people swarm their own neighborhoods and shopping districts. They don't think about the infrastructure that fed those stores. You're operating in a blind spot of collective panic. The defensive profile is exceptional. Loading docks can be barricaded with the forklifts already on site. Those machines weigh several tons each, instant movable barriers. The buildings typically have metal roofs on steel trusses, making them nearly impossible to enter from above. Limited windows, if any. And the interior is a labyrinth of shelving units and pallets that create natural choke points and cover. You can fortify a position inside with minimal effort because the architecture does half the work for you. The commercial location also means isolation from residential chaos. While neighborhoods tear themselves apart, you're in an industrial corridor that's empty, quiet, and strategically positioned near highway access for potential escape routes. The third location is the one nobody expects, and that's exactly why it works. Municipal water towers. Not living inside the tank, that's a death trap. I'm talking about the access buildings at the base, the small concrete or brick structures that house the pumps and control systems. These buildings are almost always overlooked because people see the tower and miss the fortress at its foundation. The structure itself is compact, usually single-story with minimal access points, built from concrete block or poured concrete because it has to support the engineering systems that manage millions of gallons of pressure overhead. These are unflimsy buildings. They re-anchor deep into bedrock or extensive foundation systems to handle the structural load of the tower. The strategic value is staggering. You have immediate access to water, thousands of gallons of it stored in the tank above. Even if the grid fails, gravity does the work. Open a valve, and water flows. That's not just drinking water, that's sanitation, hygiene, crop irrigation if you're planning long-term. The elevated position of the tower itself gives you observation, superiority. Climb the ladder inside, and you can see for miles in every direction. You'll spot threats, track movement patterns, and understand the flow of survivors and raiders long before they're aware of your position. And because these towers are often in elevated areas of towns and cities, on hills or high ground, you're already positioned on defensible terrain. The psychological edge of choosing these locations over obvious shelters is where survival becomes strategy. When crisis hits, human behavior follows predictable patterns. People run to what they know: their homes, their relatives, government shelters if they're announced. They think in terms of comfort and familiarity. But comfort gets you killed. The survivors who make it are the ones seeking safety in crowds. They are the ones who understand that true security comes from controlling resources and occupying structures that were designed to be homes but were designed to be indestructible. There's a mental shift required here, a cold calculation that most people can't make until it's too late. You have to recognize that the normal rules of shelter no longer apply. You're not looking for bedrooms and living rooms. You're looking for tactical advantages measured in concrete thickness, resource access, and defensive sightlines. The timing of your move to these locations is everything. Leave too early, and you signal your intentions, potentially drawing attention or being labeled paranoid. Leave too late, and someone else with the same knowledge claims the position first. The window is narrow somewhere between the first 48 hours, when chaos is consuming obvious targets, and the 72-hour mark, when organized groups start thinking strategically. You move when everyone else is still reacting, when the panic is loud enough to cover your approach, but before the predators start hunting. This is the reality nobody wants to accept. When society collapses, your suburban home becomes a liability, not a sanctuary. The structures that become fortresses aren't the ones designed for living, they're the ones designed for function. Built to industrial and utility standards that far exceed residential construction. Water facilities, cold storage, warehouses, and tower access buildings become the castles of a fallen world because they were built to withstand forces that comfortable living never required. While others evacuate to nowhere, you're not running, you're occupying. An occupation, backed by engineering and strategic positioning, is the only preparation that matters when everyone else is already gone. Claude is AI and can make mistakes. Please double-check responses.